Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some unusual fruits that you probably have seen in the grocery store. And the first one is called star fruit. And this one is native to Southeast Asia, specifically Sri Lanka, India, and Malaysia. And it's also grown around the world in subtropical and tropical areas. And they are grown in the United States in places like Hawaii, Florida, but also Puerto Rico, Thailand, and Brazil. The star fruit grows on a medium-sized evergreen tree with drooping branches, and it gets about 20 to 30 feet tall. And when it flowers, it has lavender to pink flowers. The shape when you cut the fruit is a distinctive star shape. As you can see here. When ripe, the fruit is yellow to golden in color with thin edible skin, and it will grow to about 3 to 6 inches long. Now these fruits that I have here, I have a couple here, they're not as yellow as I've seen in the store, so these probably should ripen a little bit, but since I'm making this video, I'm going to taste them as they are. The texture is crispy, juicy, it has a translucent flesh and very small flat seeds, and I don't see any seeds in this cut right here. When the fruits are ripe, they may have a little browning around the edges. That's okay. You should avoid the green fruit like this one here if you want to eat them immediately. They will ripen over a few days if you just hold on. So what does this thing taste like? Well, it's sweet with a mild citrus tang reminiscent of apple and pear. I don't know if I'll taste that today because these aren't completely ripe, but we'll see. To choose the best fruit in the store, look for one that's bright yellow with minimal blemishes or green streaks. The ripe ones should be firm with slightly soft edges. Avoid overly soft or wrinkled fruit, they're going to be overripe. Now when you're storing the fruit at home, it can be stored in the refrigerator at around 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Most refrigerators are probably a little cooler than that. Also, if the fruit is unripe, you can leave it at room temperature and let it ripen on slowly. The fruit will last up to 2 weeks in the refrigerator. Unripe fruit will last 3 to 4 weeks if stored and cooled and allowed to ripen slowly. Now our house at night is around 68 degrees, so that's probably pretty good. There is one caution. Star fruit contains oxalates, and anyone that's ever had a kidney stone will know what oxalates are. They also contain a neurotoxin. You know, toxin means bad news, but neuro means associated with the brain, or probably the nervous system is included in that. And it can be harmful to individuals with kidney disease. Now, if you ate a lot of star fruit, you could have some real problems in terms of confusion, although I've never had our star fruit in my life, and my wife would probably accuse me of being confused quite a bit. But you can also have seizures, and it can be fatal if you eat too much of it. Also, you have to be aware of drug interactions. If you're taking certain drugs where they caution you about eating grapefruit, this is also a fruit that you're going to want to avoid because it has a similar effect. Even with all of that, I'm still going to taste it, but I'm not going to keep it. I'm not going to swallow it. So I picked out the one that was the yellowest between the two, which isn't very yellow. I'm just going to try a little bit of it. It is crunchy, not very sweet. It does have a hint of citrus in it. It does have remnants of an apple that isn't really sweet and a little bit more on the acidic side. I don't taste pear at all. I like the texture, it is crunchy. And I probably will try this again, but I want to try a fully ripe one. But I will say, because I have kidney disease and I do take some medicines that require me not to eat grapefruit, which I absolutely love, then I probably won't eat this. But if I didn't have those issues, even though this was a little tart, it has potential. I like the texture of this fruit, so you might want to give it a try. My next fruit is called the Cherimoya, or the custard apple. It's native to the Andes Mountains of South America, around Ecuador and Peru area. It's grown in South America, Central America, also California, Spain, and certain countries in Asia like India and Thailand. It grows on a deciduous or evergreen tree, semi-evergreen I should say. Typically gets about 20 to 30 feet tall with broad oval leaves and fragrant flowers. The shape of this fruit is heart-shaped, and they say your heart is about the size of your fist. So you compare these, this is a little bit larger than your human heart. And it's supposed to be green with bumpy or scaly texture. This one is green, but it doesn't have a bumpy or scaly texture. To me, this is smooth. The flesh is creamy white, soft and custard-like with black inedible seeds. Now, when this fruit is ripe, it's like an avocado. It will yield to a gentle touch. And I usually like to check things on the bottom. Oh, there's a lump there. On the bottom first, and then on the top. That's how you should check your avocados. Not squeeze them in the middle, because it just leaves bruises everywhere. But this one gives just a little bit, not much. So I would say this one is probably not as ripe as it should be for consumption. You want to avoid fruit that's too hard or overly mushy. In other words, really soft. And again, I refer you to the avocado. When they're really overripe, you push on them and your finger almost goes through them. What does it taste like? Well, it's supposed to be sweet, have a tropical flavor compared to a blend of pineapple, banana, and vanilla custard. That sounds interesting to me. When you go to the store to choose one of these, get one with light green flesh, and we talked about a slight give to pressure. Avoid them if they have dark spots or cracks. Now, there are no cracks here, but these do have dark spots, so maybe this wouldn't have been the best one to choose. You can store them at room temperature until they're ripe. Once they're ripe, you can keep them in the refrigerator for about 3 days. The unripe fruit needs several days to ripen at room temperature. Now, I've had these for about 2 days, and it's not that soft. You need to know that the seeds of this fruit are somewhat toxic. If you ingest them or crush them, they do have chemicals in them that will irritate your digestive system, and so don't eat them. Also, they're fairly high calorie content and lots of sugar, so if you're watching your blood sugar, then you want to go easy on this particular fruit. Now I'm going to cut it and see what it looks like inside. Yeah, this is not very soft. Not very attractive inside either. This is a cross section of the fruit, and I've cut through some of the seeds, so that's not the best thing to do. I'm just going to take a very small bit of it and taste it. I don't expect it to be the best because this wasn't the best selection and it's not quite ready yet. The interior portion of this fruit doesn't look all that attractive. When you cut this thing, there's so many seeds in it that you can't help but cut them. So I'm going to take an area where they weren't cut and just taste that little area there. So far I'm not that impressed because there doesn't seem to be a lot of surface area to consume without running into these seeds. It's definitely not ready. It was more crunchy than soft. The flavor profile hadn't developed yet, so maybe I'll wait and get another one and try it. But because I said there's so many seeds in this thing, I don't see what the point is. Let's move on to the dragon fruit. This is the dragon fruit. It comes in 2 flesh colors, white flesh varieties and red flesh varieties. It's native to Central America and Mexico. It's also cultivated in Vietnam, Thailand, China, Australia, Israel, and California. This is the fruit of a cactus, and it has long green fleshy leaves and stems, fragrant flowers, and the fruit shape is oval to oblong. The skin can be bright pink or yellow with green, and it has these little scale-like fins on it. And also the flesh can be either white or red or purple with small black seeds. It's ripe when the skin shows its vibrant color, and the fruit gives slightly when pressed. And this is pretty vibrant as compared to this one. This one isn't quite as vibrant, so this one's probably more ready. And it does give slightly when I press it, so this one is much better shaped than some of the other fruits that I was looking at. You want to avoid overly soft or shriveled fruit, and it's supposed to taste sweet with a flavor similar to kiwi or pear with a hint of earthiness. Let's find out. I'm going to do a cross section so you can see what it looks like. Lots of little seeds in this guy. All right, let's scoop out a little taste. It's nice and soft. It has the texture of avocado when I'm slicing it. maybe a little bit more resistant. But also, one of the things I think about when I see all these seeds, I'm tempted to take some out and try to grow the cactus, which I probably will. I feel like I'm chewing on sesame seeds. The seeds are soft enough to where they don't bother me. Texture is similar to pear. It does have that earthiness that they talk about. It is very mildly sweet. I'm not tasting the kiwi here. I'm not tasting pear either. This one is rather bland in flavor. Well, if you're going to choose this in the store, you want to buy brightly colored, smooth skin, no blemishes. And we already mentioned that you don't want the fruit that are really soft or have brown spots on them. You can store it at room temperature until ripe if it's not quite ripe when you bring it home. Once it's ripe, you can put it in the refrigerator in a sealed bag and it will last up to 1 to 2 weeks in the refrigerator. Unripe fruit will take about 5 days to ripen at room temperature. Rarely this happens, but sometimes people will experience allergic reactions, including swelling of the lips, tongue, and throat with this fruit. They might even have hives. If you have a history of food allergies, which I don't, then you might want to be careful with this one. If you overconsume it, and based on the taste, I hardly think that's going to happen. Eating large amounts of dragon fruits can lead to temporary reddish urine or stool due to the pigments in the red flesh varieties. This is harmless, but it can be a little startling because people might think they have blood in their urine or something. But my attitude about this fruit is I am totally unimpressed with the taste. I guess if you wanted to include this in a salad, not necessarily a fruit salad, but you could put it in a fruit salad with other fruits that have a little bit more sweetness to them. It's nice texture, and chewing on the seeds is a pleasant experience. It's different in its texture. But overall, the fruit by itself, I wouldn't sit down and eat this like I'd eat an apple or an orange or a banana or something like that. Our last fruit is this little guy. It's called a Rambutan. I guess I said that right. Rambutan. And it's come from Malaysia and Indonesia. It's also cultivated in Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, India, Honduras, and Hawaii. This fruit grows on a medium-sized evergreen tree that can reach up to 80 feet tall with glossy leaves and clusters of small flowers. The fruit is small, about the size of a small hen's egg with all the little protrusions here. It's round to oval. The skin is red to yellow, covered with soft hair-like spines. I'd say they're medium, not necessarily soft. The flesh is translucent and sweet, encasing a single seed. So let's check this out. Where's my note? Oh, check this out. Looks like a little egg. Now the fruit is ripe when the skin is bright red or yellow with spines that are firm. You want to avoid fruit that is dull in color, like this one for instance, brown or soft. Now this doesn't feel soft at all, but it is quite brown. So the taste is supposed to be sweet with a mild floral note, similar to the lychee, but slightly less perfumed. Let's find out. When I cut it, it seems like lychee. Oh, it's big too, like a big lychee. Yeah, I like this. It does taste very similar to lychee nuts. I think this one's a little firmer than lychee nuts, but I really like this. This is the best of the bunch as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how much I paid for this, but I'll look at the receipt and I'll put it on the screen. So how do you find the best ones in the store? Select fruit with bright, vibrant skin, firm spines. Avoid fruit that has browning and soft spots. How should you store it? Well, you can store it in a plastic bag in the refrigerator. It will keep up to 2 weeks in the refrigerator, but you need to understand the seeds are toxic. They shouldn't be eaten. They contain saponins and tannins, which are harmful if ingested. You should avoid consuming the unripe fruit. It may contain compounds that will cause gastrointestinal discomfort. Also, they're fairly sweet, So if you're diabetic, you also need to be careful about how many you eat. But based on the size here, I think most people would be satisfied with about 3 or 4. And it's not something that you're going to eat a whole bowl of. Now, if I have any digestive problems, I've tasted all these crazy things and some of them weren't really right. I didn't swallow them, but you never know. So those are the things that I have for you today. I hope this was helpful. I certainly learned something because I've never tried any of these things before. I probably will have to go back and try the custard apple again because the one I had wasn't the best. And if I do, I might just give you a little update on that. This is Gary. I hope you enjoyed this, and I have another one coming up in just a little bit on 3 more apple varieties. Bye.